see, a couple of weeks ago, we did a little catch up with Sam from Fredericks. We talked about the X9. And while Olivia was there, I made a phone call and had a chat with Sam about their 2020 season. And check out the wee model he sent over. How cool is that wee bad boy? Anyway, hope you enjoy catch up with Sam. It was really nice to get a chat with him, and I'll go back to watching him here, so see you later. Thank you. Well, Sam, it's great to catch up with you. Obviously, we're in a strange world of COVID-19, and I think the last time we were chatting to you is almost a year ago. We were at Lama Show and Lance was over and a lot of your crew were over, and we met up in our stand and we had some good fun, and then the world went into shutdown.
Yeah, it's marginally different now than it was a year ago, huh?
Massive. But you got back out.
Mm-hmm. I managed to get there before the travel ban came into effect. So I went at the end of February.
I think Stuart was actually pretty much with us as it all was starting to kick off.
Yes, he was. He was in a hot tub, I believe. Actually, so I've no sympathy. But we were in the hot tub. That is correct. He was over here. He was over for his visa in Belfast, and we were in the hot tub, and we were having a good laugh. And then he got up to go to the airport or whatever, and flights, everything was taken. I think that was at the time Flybe. I think Flybe went down first, and then the whole COVID travel ban all kicked in and around that time. It was crazy times, but as far as Fredericks were concerned, was it a big problem? Yeah, it was quite an inconvenience, I'd say, not to have the right guys there. I mean, you're always short of people, and you're trying to find people at short notice. And you can find people, but to have actually people that are going to replace the guys that you've had back before, and Disco's knowledge and experience, and the other guys that you can't just find right away,
Yeah, and Nick, he made it out because he went out sort of at the same time as you, but he was going back out to his 9RX more so than going out to the Harvest. He got out okay before the travel ban.
Yeah, he did too. I guess Disco has more ties at home on the farm that he needs to stay back for in the spring.
What did you do as a company? What was the game plan then? I'm assuming you're sitting with Lance and Drew and the boys in an office going, so what do we do now?
Yeah, watching them close the border. Well, I mean, I guess you just have to do the best you can. I mean, we had to employ extra people, then getting people to take their CDL test, their truck test, takes time, and it's just a lot of extra work. I guess you'll always get by, but it just makes it awkward. But I guess there's worse things going on in the world, but it did make it quite difficult for us at the beginning. But
then you's got going. I mean, we have lovely drone footage of some of the crews starting to head off. So obviously, Frederick Harvesting at this stage managed 2020 and managed to get a lot of work done. I mean, it was 2019 when we were there and seen some of the work getting done. But this particular year, we asked you guys to get yourselves a GoPro, and Angus had a drone, and so you took about filming duties yourselves. But I mean, I was looking through some of the footage, and it's fantastic. So you's got going is basically, and the trucks were moving, the combines were rolling. So how did the actual season go for you?
I mean, you're under pressure because you were just short of people a lot of the time, but we managed between bouncing around different places and the situation. Obviously, the customers are very understanding when they would know that you're under pressure, and they provided extra help when they needed it, to maybe either drive a truck, so that helped out a lot. I don't think it turned out quite as bad in the end as we thought it might have done. A lot of it's to do with timing. You don't need all those people all the time, but you have to have them for the whole season because at some point you do need them. But we made it work. You just have to work a bit differently, and if you got too much grain, you have to park a combine and run an extra truck. So it was doable, but I guess we're probably all under more pressure than we would have been normally.
Some of the footage you guys took, we got a real good focus on
some of the other crops that you guys spend a lot of time harvesting. I know when we were over, it was we were maybe focusing it very much in our head all about the wheat, and then Lance was talking about how that was diminishing every year, and the likes of soya was increasing, and the likes of corn was increasing, and even sunflowers and things like that there. So it was really nice to see some of that footage. And is that still the trend? Did you even see that this year again, Sam?
Yeah, the trend generally at the moment is away from wheat towards fall crop, which should be corn and soybeans. Yeah, it is still changing. It's also a completely different pace compared to wheat. I would say the hours probably aren't quite as long normally, but the pace is much faster. There's a lot more grain to handle. The yields are just so much higher with corn, basically. But that was most of our footage will have been from fall harvest beans. And
now, when you say fall harvest, you're basically meaning what we would call the back end of the year, the autumn time.
Autumn, yeah. I guess that's American for autumn. Fall. I guess that's because all the leaves fall off the trees, huh?
The fall.
The fall, yeah. You can't say it in a normal way.
But one of the most interesting things that I picked up on, and maybe I don't know if our fans will laugh at this, but Angus had the drone up over Alden, and we could see this one house stand out with some nice green grass around it.
Yeah, I don't know whose that is.
and I asked you, it's not hard to spot Lance's
No.
house, and you were telling me he installed some form of control in his sprinklers from his phone, so that when he was away doing the harvest, he could look in and make sure his grass got a little bit of
you've got
treatment.
to have green grass, because everything's brown in Kansas if you don't give it any water. You can do most things off your phone now too. I guess Lance is all about the tech.
Well, speaking of the technology, what improvements have Fredericks made from their 19 season to their 2020 season? I mean, obviously, we went for a new round of combines, I'm imagining, yes?
Yeah, we had a new round of 770s, yeah.
So we've still predominantly stuck with the 770 combine on wheels?
Correct, yeah. For wheat, we have 8, and then we normally have 4 780s for the fall harvest, autumn, back end.
I did notice on some of your footage we had the new 8Rs, and then some of them we had what I would call, if you're getting into John Deere lingo, is it the MY19 versus the MY20 or whatever they want to call it, but you had some of the new older 8Rs, and then you had some of the newer 8Rs with their new Moore styling, light styling, different decals and stuff. And is there did you buy many of those, or?
We had 4 of the old style and 3 of the new style. They were all new at the beginning of 2020, but the new style did not ship until June-ish.
Okay, so that, I thought that was a bit strange, to be honest with you, but basically you would have had to have started your season with all your last year's tractors, basically.
And they were all sold for the most part. They've already gone.
Okay. I did notice a couple of new chasers crept in this year.
Well, we buy 2 new grain cars, I guess they call them, but yeah, 2 new chasers we have every year, and 2 will leave. So we run 6 during wheat harvest, buy the 2 new ones, and run 8 for fall, and then once we've done in the fall, the 2 oldest ones will go back to the dealer, and we'll be back to 6 again for the following wheat year.
But everything else basically was run the same, Sam. You still have your mobile homes, you have your own caravan, and service truck still the same.
Yep, everything's pretty much the same, yeah.
There was a nice blue truck appeared in some of your footage that we hadn't seen before, but maybe it was there before, I just hadn't seen it.
Yeah, the 2 new T800s, or new to us, that came in that different colour blue. There's 2 of them, 24 and 25, they look the same. And the paint job was pretty good, and Lance liked the blue, so I guess we kept them blue. They look pretty good, especially with those herd bumpers. We put a few herd bumpers on trucks this spring too.
Oh, very good. So I suppose there's one thing I wanted to just touch base with you, and I know Olivia will have covered this with you at this stage, but you've had the one, the only. You've had the 90 X9.
We did have a toy to play with, yeah.
As good as all the reports I read.
The massaging seat, definitely. That's the thing for me. It's all about the seat. But yeah, it's quite a machine. It's a bit of an animal. It's the hardest bit is keeping it full, especially with what we have. But if you just keep pushing the stick forward, it'll eat a lot of grain.
This is the question, I suppose, and I'm sure you've covered this before. Could Frederick Harvesting, do you think, justify 2 or 3 less combines, but those bigger combines, and get the same work done, or do you think it's just too much?
In theory, you could if all your work was in the same place. So if you're a farmer, I think that probably could work. Depending on your situation and your cropping spread, how many of those X9s you'd need to replace X amount of previous models would depend, but you can't spread in as many places. Let's say you went from 8 770s to say 5 X9s, say for example, you couldn't be split as many ways to keep as many customers happy at the same time. So really for a harvester, it's flexibility. Even though on paper, you may get more done if you're all in one place all the time.
Within this last year, did you become any better at driving trucks?
Absolutely not. I did give it a go. So Angus could do a bit of combine in there, but I wouldn't say I was any good at it. The grain ended up away from the field and in the elevator.
That's the most important thing. Whenever we made the Frederick Harvesting, it was commented, that there was 10 combines working, and we were maybe only in a position to film 5 or 6 of them. The reason for that was then you were running prototype flex draper headers, and there was no permissions granted for those to be filmed. Obviously, as we speak now, that's all changed. And we can show a shot of all 10 of you coming at us down the field. And there was a little bit of a purchase made from Europe there this year.
Yes, Fantini, I guess. The choice of sunflower headers is quite slim. I mean, it's a very niche market, I guess. But if you've got to cut them, the row heads that we've been using do the job. But I mean, they're starting to show their age now. It's been probably 20 plus years since John Deere actually made one of those as what they call an all crop header or a row crop header. That's quite a niche market, and sunflowers are so abrasive. It's got to be all completely metal. Otherwise, it just wears plastic through like there's no tomorrow. And so.
Seriously?
Oh yeah, really, it's like sandpaper, constantly. So this is completely metal. John Deere don't make a new style head for sunflowers, so we have to go with a different manufacturer, and Zane did a lot of research, and so we're going to try something different. So we just have one of those in a 12 row.
12
right
row,
now.
That's right, you told me that, yeah.
It's only
and
a
you were
small
showing
one.
me the difference. You sent me a picture, because I was trying to understand, because I mean that's just something I personally haven't seen. What was it? Either you said to me or I said you could see the difference. The Fantini head had the nice teeth in the way it took the crop in and presented it and grabbed the hold of the stalk, whereas your own older headers, you said it was like trying to eat a steak with no teeth.
yeah, it is a little bit like that. I mean, it's just old technology, I guess, and they weren't ever made for sunflowers. Row heads were made for milo. Sunflower stalks are like tree trunks. They take a lot of wear, and it's just really hard on equipment, because a sunflower you chop off the stalk with a knife, with a rotary star knife, as opposed to a corn header will have rollers that pulls the stalk straight down and just pops the cob off into the header, whereas sunflowers you're taking the whole lot because you chop it off.
How did it do?
Oh, it did pretty good. The flowers in southeast Colorado don't generally yield quite as high as the ones in South Dakota, but the way it worked out, we tried it in Colorado there, as Zane did. But I think it did pretty good. I mean, we didn't have to do anything to it, as far as I know, just a bit of servicing, tighten chains and things. They did a really good job.
And your heads in general, still with the flex drapers for the wheat harvest, because am I right in saying you like those when it comes to the likes of the soya, because you need the flex draper to get right down and gather it up, is that correct?
Yeah, the way they hug the ground, you need a flex head to cut beans, really. the other draper like we had on the X9 and the ones we had in 2019, the hinge draper, will cut beans in certain circumstances, but for the most part, a flex head, we think right now, will do a better job. There will be probably a flex version of that hinge draper at some point, which will be a really good header in our opinion, but right now we're still with the flex heads purely because of beans. If you were just going to cut wheat, then a hinge draper is, I think, follows the ground better than a flex draper does. But
what was on your big girl?
It was still a 16-row head, but it folded.
It was a folding.
So you could get down the road easier. The 780s still run a 16-row. You'd just be going slightly slower than you would be in the X9, but you don't want any smaller than a 16-row on an X9. I mean, honestly, it'd be nicer if it was even bigger, a 45, so it'd be an 18-row, or, I mean, you just get into weight and build constraints when you get that big on a corn head. A corn head has a lot going on, they're quite heavy, especially that folding one is a lead sled.
Well, look, Sam, I am going to go and let you go, but basically I wanted just to ring, catch up, let our viewers know how it sort of worked out for you with the year, but I would like you to pass on my best to Lance, Andrew, and all the team. And I don't know what the restrictions are, but if someone's watching this and still has an interest in getting out to you guys, they can still reach out through your own Facebook or through your own website, and hopefully restrictions and that will change, but you're still looking for guys for this season, I'm sure.
Yeah, we are definitely, and that's what Zane is concentrating on mostly at the moment. But I guess as for ancestors to travel, it's all up in the air still. We still plan on being able to have guys from aboard and through the Ohio State University like we do, but I guess we just don't know until we can do the travel situation, I guess. But we're planning on being able to, put it that way.
A wee holiday in Mexico for a couple of weeks,
yeah.
You couldn't beat it, son.
No, I know. I'm always thinking, even if there isn't a travel ban, I think I'll go to Mexico anyway. Why wouldn't you? Cancun on the Gulf Coast, hot beaches.
Thank you very much, Sam. I'm going ahead here, and it's great, and thanks for the footage, and I hope people like the way that we tried our best between us to keep people up to date with what you were doing this year. So all the best, Sam.
It's good to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care.